Hi.
Greetings. Genesis chapter 46. Last time we just covered the first 4 verses. Jacob is going down into Egypt, but he does something his ancestor Abraham, his grandfather, didn't do, which is ask God's permission and ask God's blessing. And he gets a communication. He doesn't know, apparently, that this is going to be the last direct communication from God in the way of an appearance or a vision. God is going to take care of them. He says, I'm going down there with you. But he's not going to care for them in the same personal relationship that he had with the patriarchs. They are going to be, though, Egypt is going to, as Deuteronomy later says, Moses said that it's going to be like an iron furnace where they are cleansed. But that's going to take a long process because their cleansing, we now know, is going to take thousands of years. Even for Israel to be cleaned up of its original idolatry took, about 1,000 years. But there's still things future in these promises. I will go down with you, though, God says in verse 4. I myself will go down with you to Egypt. So now we're going to read the people who went. You get a more or less complete list of them here from verses 5 through 27.
Then Jacob arose from Beersheba, and the sons of Israel carried their father Jacob, their little ones, and their wives in the carts which Pharaoh had sent to carry him. So they took their livestock, their goods, which they had acquired in the land of Canaan, and went to Egypt. Jacob and all his descendants with him, his sons and his sons' sons, his daughters and his sons' daughters, and all his descendants he brought with him to Egypt. Now these were the names of the children of Israel, Jacob and his sons, who went to Egypt. Reuben was Jacob's firstborn. The sons of Reuben were Hanok, Palu, Hezron, and Carmi. The sons of Simeon were Jemuel, Jamin, Ohad, I don't know if it's Ohad or Obad.
Ohad, I think.
Ohad. Simeon were Jenuel. Okay, no, I've missed a line here.
Jachin.
The sons of Samuel were Jemuel, Jamin, Ohad, Jachin, Zohar, and Shaul, the sons of the Canaanite woman.
The sons of Levi, Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. The sons of Judah, Onan, Shelah, Perez, and Zerah. But and Onan died in the land of Canaan. And the sons of Perez were Hezron and Hamul. The sons of Issachar, Tola, Puva, Yob, and Shimron. The sons of Zebulun, Sered, Elon, and Jaleel. These are the sons of Leah, whom she bore to Jacob in Paddan Aram, together with his daughter Dinah. Altogether his sons and his daughters numbered 33. The sons of Gad, Ziphion, Haggi, Shuni, Esbon, Eri, Arodi, and Areli. The sons of Asher, Imnah, Ishva, Ishvi, Bariah, with Sarah their sister. And the sons of Bariah, Heber, and Malchiel.
These were the sons of Zilpah, whom Laban gave to Leah, his daughter, and these she bore to Jacob, 16 persons. The sons of Rachel, Jacob's wife, were Joseph and Benjamin. And so Joseph in the land of Egypt were born Manasseh and Ephraim, whom Asenath, the daughter of Potipharah, priest of On, bore him. The sons of Benjamin were Bela, Becher, Ashbel, Jira, Naaman, Ahi, Rosh, Muppin, Huppin, and Ard. Those are the only ones I like. Muppin, Huppin, and Ard.
Wonder why.
You have to do all the names. These were the sons of Rachel, who were born to Jacob, 14 persons in all. The son of Dan was Husham.
The sons of Naphtali, Jazel, Guni, Jezer, and Shillem. These are the sons of Bilhah, whom Laban gave to Rachel his daughter, and these she bore to Jacob, 7 persons in all. All the persons belonging to Jacob who came into Egypt and were his own descendants, not including Jacob's sons' wives, were 66 persons in all. And the sons of Joseph who were born to him in Egypt were 2. All the persons of the house of Jacob who came into Egypt were 70. So there's a bit of mystery as to how they come up with the final 70 here. And there's disagreement. But that doesn't matter. The main point here, we'll get to in a minute, but there's one little incidental that I wouldn't have noticed in the old days. That's verse 7, where it mentions, when it's talking about who came down generally, it says his sons and his sons' sons with him, his daughters and his sons' daughters. So the only daughter we've heard the name of so far is Dinah, but apparently there were others.
And that might just be because there was an incident involving her.
Yeah.
That she was mentioned.
But then there's the why. Why do we need this whole list of not just numbers, not just names? Why do we need difficult names that the English tongue is going to trip over? But why do we have to break down the family? Well, we do. Which came from which wife, etc. Right?
Yeah.
But the agreement among the scholars is that this is here to make a great point. And that is about a fulfilled prophecy from Genesis chapter 12. And the way God fulfills it in a most unlikely way, you would think. It's not the logical thing to take a people you've put in a land deliberately to make a great nation out of them. And now you move the family when it's of a, well, not a substantial size, 70 or so.
A small number, but even the previous reading we did when Israel gives the offering to God, at that time he is told by God that he's going to, I will make you a great nation there. So it's been affirmed that this is the plan, that you're going to become a great nation, not here, but in Egypt.
This is a few dozen people, though, which is great. But I'm sure Jacob is still feeling trepidation, because Jacob always does, about what the future could hold. They're going into the most powerful nation on earth here. Yes, it sounds like a friendly invitation. Like you said last time, maybe he thinks they're going back right away after he reunites with Joseph.
Yeah.
Maybe he thinks that. But on the other hand, there's another prophecy that was given to Abraham, that your descendants, who weren't even born yet at all, your descendants are going to be strangers in a land not their own, and they'll live in that land for 400 years.
Yeah.
If he knows that prophecy, he's thinking, well, how's this going to work? We're small.
Yeah.
And they could do anything they want with us. That's all the more reason they need this last line, verse 4. I myself will go down with you to Egypt. Now, God is invisible, not like the Egyptian gods, but we know this worked out ultimately, that this invisible God finally proved himself to be the only true God, and all the Egyptian gods were judged at the Exodus. We got a couple of good quotes here, though. One is Donald Grey Barnhouse and John Calvin, too.
So Barnhouse says, the emphasis is on there. He did not build this family into a nation in Palestine, where they could have been overcome by satanic hordes around them. He took them to Egypt, where, as shepherd people, near the borders, they could have all the advantages of the civilization of the greatest nation on earth. There they would be taught law and order. They would be protected while they increased to a multitude, and they would learn the discipline of servitude and would mature through suffering. There Moses would be born and be trained in the court of Pharaoh, even as Joseph had been, in order to lead the people out forever. Remember this when God takes you into what seems to be an alien land.
Yeah, we all have those periods, don't we, in our life where we think, what is God doing?
Yes.
But we remember, if we take that phrase that Moses later uses of the iron furnace, that's how God perfects people. Look, it says that of Christ in the book of Hebrews, that He learned obedience through the things he suffered and was perfected to
Yeah.
become our perfect high priest because he can sympathize with us.
Yeah. Fire is often described as being the purifier,
Yeah,
refined by fire.
yeah,
So it's quite a contrast to our ideas as witnesses that we are a pure people. Are you not in need of purifying? Israel was God's people, but they were in need of purifying, and it was a long process.
yeah.
It took a long time.
Of course, the Watchtower has the out, which is the New Light doctrine. They never called themselves impure worshippers in their past. They all called themselves pure worshippers of Jehovah. But every religion on earth, that every sincere person who's part of a religion all over the earth, think that they are the true worshippers, the pure worshippers. But to be made perfect as Christ was made perfect, through suffering, well, how many of us even think that way about the purpose of why we're here on the earth?
And we don't even think of suffering ever as being anything good, but good can come from suffering.
Yeah, and by the way, it wasn't the Exodus that cured them, or even partly cured them, because that generation died in the wilderness for the most part, right? But it was the exile 1,000 years after all of this, more than 1,000 years later. The exile did cure the remnant, anyway, of their congenital impurity, which was idolatry. And that was unfortunately not yet the end of their purification, because Messiah comes a few hundred years later and they reject him anyway.
Yeah.
So their purification has another phase attached to it, which is at the very end, when Christ comes again, all Israel will be saved.
Yeah.
So it's time consuming. Changing
sure.
people takes time.
Yeah.
I think the cliche we've quoted in the past in some context is you can take a slave out of Egypt, but you can't take the man out of slavery just by freeing him from shackles and bondage, right? You have to free his mind, and that takes time. Or you can take a girl out of Sodom, but you can't take Sodom out of the girl. Yeah, these are very witty ways of saying the same thing, namely that real change, real freedom takes a lot of effort and a lot of time.
And you do have to conquer your mind and your heart.
Yeah.
In order to make that kind of refining happen.
Yeah.
And it's not you doing it.
Yeah, and Calvin has a good thought here too. He says it is more to the purpose to examine wherefore this small number of persons is recorded by Moses. For the more improbable it appears that 70 men in no lengthened space of time should have grown to such a multitude, so much the more clearly does the grace of God shine forth. And this is also the reason why he so frequently mentions this number, for it was by no means, according to human apprehension, a likely method of propagating the church, that Abraham should live childless even to old age, then after he, being increased with a moderate family, should be shut up in a corner of Egypt, and that there an incredible number of people should spring up from this dry fountain. So Israel got to see the physical miracle of the great numbers that increased. Egypt got to see that too. But the greater miracle, well, God's a God of miracles, right? He starts with a miracle. That is the womb of Sarai before she becomes Sarah. And the fact that Abraham is past childbearing age as well. So God starts with a miracle. And
he's always
doing miracles.
Yeah. So in Jesus' ministry, it was miracles that convinced many of them he could do things that no man could do.
Yeah. When we're comparing Jesus and Christianity to other religions, we often forget that point. That not only was Jesus a great miracle worker and a great teacher, but other religious founders, many of them, most of them that I'm aware of, don't even make a claim to be miracle workers. But Jesus put his credibility on the line.
Believe my works.
Saying that if you don't believe in me, believe in the works I do. And we've done videos on this. I think 2 of them we're going to link this time, right? By what authority? And that's where we examine the difference between Jesus' authority and the authority claimed by God's organization, i.e., how How did the disciples come to know that God was in Jesus Christ? Well, they came to know because he demonstrated God's omniscience and his omnipotence. So we look at that in some detail in these two videos. Mm-hmm. And I think it's also on the website.
The basis of those two videos is in written form on One Wonders.
OneWonders.org. In the PDF archive, you'll find a document called By What Authority?
We'll put that in the link, in
In
the
the description, yeah.
Yeah.
See you next time.